Hey y'all, what's going on? It's your girl Bondy Blue. I am doing a little ad here for Roses Forever, New York. There should be a link, but if not, it's just a code Bondy Blue 25. And you get $25 off your purchase. So you should just, go ahead and get that popping if you like roses. Some people really love roses. And they roses last a very long time. They are preserved. Okay, do you see this? These flowers are from a month ago when I first got them. And they still look good. I sprayed them with water and that seems to just, keep them moisturized, girl. Because, I be scared. So I do to them what I do to my plants. But I definitely want to get me a bigger one soon. Either way, you guys use the code BondyBlue25 to get $25 off. Okay, thanks. All right, y'all. I thought there would be more people for the Inkwell, but I know there's so much more stuff going on online today. But I don't feel like doing any of that right now. I set the recording through the Inkwell, and that's what I'm doing. Okay. I'm gonna give everybody a little bit more time to step into the light care land. Okay. But ultimately, I'm just gonna jump right into this. And, hopefully everybody enjoys it. All right. Okay. Now, I'm gonna let y'all know right now. The next one, I've already did the notes for the next one. The next one won't be live. The next one will be pre-recorded and then premiered. And when we get to the end of this review, I'll let y'all know what the next one is. The next one is like my favorite movie of all time on some shit, but I had to sit and watch it again, and it was the first time I had like a real like I had a real response. You know what I'm saying, to watching it and making notes and really being glued in. So I can't wait to talk to y'all about that one. Um but yeah, that one will be pre-recorded and probably released on Thanksgiving. That's my plan. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that done because now I'm cooking. I wasn't planning on cooking anything, but now I'm cooking a dish because now Thanksgiving is at my house. It wasn't supposed to be in my house, but apparently that's where it is. So that means I have to do a significant amount of straightening, cleaning, and making sure that my home is nice and comfortable for when my family comes over on Thanksgiving. And I was not about to do that. So I'm just like, ugh, Lord, I got stuff to do. I had to go to the store before I did this video. And I do plan on doing Ratchet Reality tomorrow. Just so y'all know, I'm gonna do Love and Hip Hop. I'm gonna do After Happily Ever After, and I'll talk about what happened on the Surreal Life because I think they had their last two episodes last night. To me, there was nothing that really happened on the Surreal Life except for the fact that, Dennis Rodman is a little off his rocker, and we already knew that. And then, they gave us August Alsina's tea at the end of the episode, girl. And I was just like, well, duh. Like, anybody that's looking at him should be able to tell that, it's swinging both ways. It's swinging whichever way the energy swings it. Okay. Okay. It's swinging to whosever energy it's feeling in the moment. It's all about experiences. It's August. Okay. So, yeah, y'all. But we're gonna go ahead and get into the Inkwell. And I'm gonna get into the comments because I see there's some questions in the chat already. So, without any further ado, I'm gonna run this intro and we're gonna get into it. Come on in, come on in, come on in, not come on in, not come. Sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm weird. Whatever.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondy Blue. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondy Blue. Okay, follow me on Instagram and let's get into the video. Right?
Okay. Hey, everybody. Hey, girl. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's a dreary Tuesday. But I'm back, girl. I'm back so we can talk about another now that we're grown. This is the Inkwell, and I'm about to put the big picture up. But I just want to say hi, hey, girls. Okay, happy to be here. Happy to be here. Child, y'all are so on that Real Housewives Potomac review. Okay, y'all are on it, and I'm so appreciative because I need at least one video a year to go, 100,000. And then that one seems like it probably will at some point. But anyway, The Inkwell, that's what we're here for. So I wanted to talk to y'all about Inkwell. I saw some people in the comments say that they've never seen this one. Thank you for looking forward to my breakdown either way. But this is a coming of age story centered around Drew. Drew Tate. Lorenz Tate always gets to have his name as a part of his character. I don't know why that happens. Y'all know he was, Tate on um Power as well. So it's crazy that he was also, he was Drew Tate on the Inkwell. Okay, it says, hello, Bondy. I have a question. Where was Drew coming in from in the beginning of the movie? Because his daddy thought he was asleep, and the dad asked where Drew had been. And he was like, just out riding. I don't know where he was. They never told us. I think it was just to let us know that Drew likes to go out and explore with Iago. That's his only friend. He's not going out in the middle of the night to get into trouble. He's going out in the middle of the night to explore. Like, honestly, it felt as if Drew, and I don't want to say this because I feel like not necessarily, but the way he had an issue um socializing, but was very smart. Like the whole thing about him burning his house down, and we're gonna get into it. But Drew, before all this happened, had an accidental fire in his house and almost burned the house down. So that's why they're taking this vacation to the Inkwell anyway, because something traumatic has happened. And now they need to decompress from the traumatic experience of Drew almost burning the house down. And it's almost as if people think he did it on purpose, but he was trying to build rocket fuel. He was trying to make rocket fuel. What kind of shit is that? But then when you see later on when he hooked up that mechanism to Harold's car, you see that there is some genius involved here. And we never really paid attention to it. Nobody really talked about it. Like it wasn't something that was actually made like a thing on this movie. But if you think about it, some of the things that Drew did, the things that Drew talked about, Drew was extremely smart. At one point his dad says, my son's quoting dead white people. And it's like, yeah, because he's reading Shakespeare. Like he's reading like really advanced, English and story. Like he's reading shit that most kids his age aren't into because he's smart. But because he doesn't look like a nerd, people don't know how to take it. And one of the reasons why y'all don't know about this movie is because when they made the movie, people didn't know how to market it. I.e., Caucasian people don't think that Black people want to see themselves in movies if we're not on drugs, if we're not in gangs, if there isn't some huge traumatic thing, if it isn't racism. The thing I love about the Inkwell is that growing up, there were, especially in the 90s, there were often movies and TV shows that made it so that racism was on the outskirts of the experience. Instead of it being the main thing, the plot line, instead of it being the main subject matter of a Black story, racism, no, traumatic experience, no. This was about middle class, well-to-do Black people for the most part. Drew and that's another thing, child, we're gonna get into. Drew and his family, his dad, Kenny, and his mom, Brenda, they were a little, struggling a little bit more, but they were going to the Inkwell to see, which I believe is like, along the Virginias and Martha's Vineyard. It's a Black area of Martha's Vineyard. Historically, that has been occupied by Black people, affluent Black people. And Brenda's sister is married to Spence. Spence is a Black Republican, seemingly a politician of some sort, and he has money, and they have a beach house, and they have a handsome, charismatic, rich son. You know what I'm saying? And he has his friends. Like it's a whole situation of Black life that has nothing to do with white people's perspective of us. And that's why I loved it so much. It was escapism. And I love the beach girl. And at the time, there are a lot of people in this movie that we love, or that we've seen in other things. Vanessa Bell Calloway was in What's Love Got to Do with It. Dwayne Martin was in Above the Rim. Of course, Jada. We catching Jada coming from what you call them, a different world. Suzanne, I remember Suzanne from being on Parenthood, but I can't remember if that was going on at this time. But she's an actress I just had already seen. I think this might have been the first time, except for A Different World, yeah, where I'm seeing Kenny. Kenny was A Different World. Morris Chestnut, we'd already seen him die. Ricky, we'd already seen House Party. Lorenz Tate was already in Menace to Society. So this movie was full of people that we like just recently already seen in movies. So like the Inkwell was just something as a black kid that I was absolutely gonna see. Glenn Turman is from, A Different World. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this now that there are like 122 of y'all in the room. Hi y'all. Okay, I hope you guys are ready, so let's just go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the movie starts off in upstate New York, 1976. It's a period piece. The movie came out in like 92, but this is a movie about the 70s. Okay, so Drew is riding home on his bike talking to his friend slash doll Iago, telling him if he gets in trouble, then Yago gets in trouble. And next time Yago's staying home, all of that yapping and yelling. The doll seems to be his conscience. When he's getting into something he's not supposed to, the doll seems to be like, no, Drew, I don't think we should do that. Okay. Kenny, his dad, comes into his bedroom thinking that Drew is sleeping because Drew has some type of like Ferris Bueller situation going on where the afro wig is under the covers and he has like the pillow there. And then he also has like a tape recorder playing. So it sounds like he's snoring. So you see what I'm saying? Like most kids wouldn't even do all of that. Okay, they wouldn't even do. They put the pillow under there and they go ahead and go. No, not Drew. Drew has a mechanism for it to snore, so they'll think that he's in his room. Like it was crazy to me. That we was just glossing over how smart Drew was. But Drew comes falling into the window on his dad, and his dad was having this conversation with him about how he knows he doesn't want to go to the Inkwell. He doesn't want to go and see, this bougie aunt and uncle and all of them, but maybe it'll be a new experience. Maybe they can spend some time together, you know, maybe they can bond. And it seems as if Kenny is having a hard time bonding with Drew because Drew is different. Drew is very smart like both parents, but Drew didn't have to grow up in extreme lack in the same way that his dad did. And I feel like we see that a lot now with like rappers and shit, or people period feeling like their kids are soft because they don't have to grow up in squalor and struggling, so they don't have what struggle puts on you. You know what I'm saying? Struggle gives you a sort of swag in a way. I hate to say it like that, but that's how it feels to a lot of black people. And so when their children don't have to grow up in those circumstances, they don't have that same edge. And you feel like that's some it almost feels like a rejection of who you are because they're not like you in all of the ways, or in a way that's really big for you. You know what I'm saying? So it was funny to me how they didn't really showcase that. But as time goes on, you really get to see that Kenny is having a hard time reconciling his son not being like him. So Drew comes falling through the window. His mom comes in to ask what is going on because she hears all the commotion. And he says that he went out for some fresh air. Kenny says, well, you want I'm sorry, my notes got messed up. He said, well, you ain't gonna get nothing but fresh air. And the doll, he threw the doll on the bed and said the doll stays here. And you could tell that was very hurtful for Drew. His dad wanted to throw the doll out the window. That's another thing I noticed. I was like, he wanted to throw it out the window, but decided to just throw it on the bed. I'm like, the fact that you even thought for a second about hurting your son in that way because it's not something that you understand, it was just like, damn, son, I'm glad you ain't do that, but you should definitely check that out, son, because you got some anger issues, okay? His dad complains about putting his bike on the car. Brenda points out that he's not letting him bring his little friend. And Kenny says, what friend? He's a 16-year-old boy still playing with a damn doll. And I'm like, see that? That's some like verbal emotional abuse there, okay? Because you're not making him feel comfortable being who he is, and you're making him feel like there's something wrong. Like it'd be different, if he was a little bit more softer about it, but he like straight up like he a 16-year-old boy still playing with a damn doll. Just a lot of aggression towards Drew for just being. And it's hurtful. It's hurtful. I feel like that was one of the things that I experienced growing up. Very many moments that I could think of just being an oblivious kid in some type of like, la 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 land. And one of my parents in their anger and in their adultness doing something to scare me out of that childlike moment. And I feel like in some ways that's what I was seeing with Drew, that Drew would be having these like, blissfully ignorant childlike moments, and somebody would remind him that something was wrong with him. And I was just very triggered by that. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay. So when they get to the beach house, Frances is Brenda's sister. She comes gliding down the stairs. Brenda, you know what I'm saying? Like it's giving, girl, look at me. And y'all know Vanessa Bell Calloway is everything. Okay. Vanessa Bell Calloway look good today. So understand that this is Vanessa Bell Calloway in her like, late 20s, early 30s type situation. Then Spencer Glenn Turman, loud and Republican in his polo shirt and plaid shorts. I said not a a polo shirt and plaid shorts. Like at least my daddy used to just go ahead and keep it, keep solid colors and jeans with his polo shirts. This dude got straight up plaid shorts on. He makes a comment about how the old Swedish princess is still kicking, referencing that they obviously can't afford a new car. So we haven't even gotten out the car all the way, and the passive aggressive microaggressions have begun. Francis gets Drew out of the car. Spencer says, "Hey there, Drew." I'm sorry, Spencer. The uncle says, "Hey there, Drew," but looks at him precariously. "Hey there, Drew." The way he looked at him, already looking at him like something is wrong. Okay, thank God for Aunt Francis for all of the love and "Hey, my baby" and all of that type of stuff. Like, thank you for that, because Jesus Christ. Okay, so then he goes over to Kenny Spencer and shakes his hand. And Kenny's a Black Panther, so Kenny's an old dapping ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? He's like, "Oh, it's America. This is America." It's like, bruh, I know where the fuck I live. You ain't gotta tell me this is America. That's weird. Like that was so condescending. Like you think me, the Black Panther, standing here in my black leather jacket and my black beret on the beach, don't know I'm in America? Where else can I go, sir? Where else? Where do they dap at? Please tell me. Was y'all gonna make that an African thing now? Amongst further, investigation, because I feel like back then we 100% assumed that was just a Black American thing. Now, we understand that no, like there are literally African tribes of people that do daps. Like we constantly like find ways to do the things we've always done and have no idea how those things are connected, which is why I have a great disdain for people always trying to create divisiveness between African Americans and people that are from Africa currently. And you know what I'm saying? Because essentially we are those people to the point that we have so many similarities in the things that we do innately, like that we don't even realize it. Okay, y'all gonna stop acting like jambalaya and jollof are not the same thing. Paella, these are all the same things. Okay, okay, that have just been slightly tweaked depending on who's cooking it. Okay, but essentially things that we figure out in some type of way to do that represent who we are as African people, as people from the continent, wherever on the continent we are from. And I just think it's so weird. It's America. This is America. Yeah, we're aware. We got it. The only struggle we know is this American one. Okay. So this enters the white America versus Black America situation. You know what I'm saying? Because essentially, I feel like Black people, especially at this time, have no idea how to be black excellence and still be black. To them, black excellence looks like looking as much white as we can and still being black. You know what I'm saying? Like adopting the mindset, adopting how I should dress, adopting how I should adorn myself, adopting the way I speak. Like all of it is be like the white man. And then when I see black people that aren't trying to be like the white man, I'm in disgust of them. Because how dare they? How dare they think it's good to be black? On some level, that's what it is. Okay. So it's been 5 years, and Frances says it's Brenda's fault that she hasn't come to see them. And she wouldn't be there now if her house hadn't almost burned down. Brenda tells her to stop, and then their mother comes walking down the stairs. Oh, where's my baby? Brenda says, Hi, Mama. And she says, Come here, and reaches her arms out. And when Brenda goes to hug her mom, she says, Not you, my other baby, and then goes to hug Drew. And you can see Frances put her arm around Brenda and kind of, just squeeze her like it's okay, Brenda. Even though she has her own passive aggressive issues with Brenda. Okay. I'm gonna talk to you about what that's about later on. Okay. But the truth of the matter is very obvious that the mother doesn't like Brenda, and we don't understand why. She keeps referring to Kenny as the Black Panther, as if, this lady has not been with this man for 15, 16 years now. And, it's just a blatant disrespect for them all the ways around. Like, yeah, show love to Drew, but that's your daughter. And you walked up to her, you know what I'm saying? And was just like, You're looking fat. Like, that's what she said to her. And it's so funny to me because I feel like as Black people, we normalize our family members talking to us like that. We normalize our family members saying things like that to us, because I can remember, and I said this to my mom once about my uncles. I was like, I don't really like either one of my uncles, because I feel like every time I come around them, they have something bad about me to point out. Oh, you gained weight. Oh, you're too skinny. Oh, what's going on with your skin? Like, they always have to make you feel bad about yourself. And I just always thought that was the weirdest shit. And I felt like, why is there patience for this? My mom would then say something to me like, oh, they just don't know what to say. And I'm like, why? Even as a child, I was like, why is it that you feel like you can say anything to a child? Like, my feelings can't get hurt. I can't ever even look forward to seeing your ass, because every interaction is you talking about how I look. And it was just all these excuses made for it, And then it just persisted. I didn't have to be okay with every interaction being some type of assault on how I look. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even down to comparing me to their own children. My daughter had on, my hair daughter curl up. My daughter do this. Like, nigga, I love your daughter. Why are you trying to make me and my cousin have beef? You nut. Like, this is, you know what I'm saying? Like, the type of shit that Black people will be okay saying to each other in their families. And I'm only saying Black people because I perceive it based on our experiences with each other. That white people are often not this harsh with their words with one another. They're harsh with their words to us. But it seems to me that a lot of times they are not that harsh with each other in their familial relationships. Black people just be out here saying any fucking thing to their family members, and you just supposed to swallow that shit and act like it's okay. And it's not. It's really not. So I honestly was extremely triggered when she, not only ignored her daughter's hug, but then was like, You're looking fat. Where's the Black Panther? So ignore me, hurt me, and then insult me and my husband in less than 20 seconds? Yeah. What the fuck? What is going on here? Okay. But then she also had to guilt her. Oh my God. Oh, you finally decided to come and see your mother before she upped and died on you. Brenda says, You look good, Mama. And she says, I know. Then as soon as they're alone, she says, Brenda, you're looking fat. And then she asks, Where's the Black Panther? Brenda just rolls her eyes and says, Don't call him that, Mama. Please. His name is Kenny. Still having to be respectful after being disrespected several times. And she ain't even been at the house for 5 minutes yet. Y'all, I had to like that's one of the things that I literally just finished talking to Lyric about that. I don't need any more guilt from you. Oh, why you ain't call me? That type of shit. Like when I say that shit trigger, I was like, I do not need any more guilt from parental figures. I feel like, I'm the child that internalized and heard I'm selfish so much that I don't even think about my own feelings before I think about yours, especially as my parent. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need any guilt from you. Y'all did that. Great job. It's self-induced. I'm gonna judge myself anyway. I don't need your guilt on top of it. Okay. I don't know why moms do that. Emotionally manipulative. Let me make you feel bad because that's the only way I feel better about whatever I'm upset about is to make you feel bad about something. And I mean, like, it's just very weird to me. And they do it very casually as if it's not a big deal. As soon as you start get aggravated about being guilty, then it's not a big deal. Okay, then why are you guilting me right now if it's not a big deal? If it's not a big deal, don't call me and act like it is, and then I respond in like, now all of a sudden I'm doing too much. You know what I'm saying? It's very weird. The way, parents and mothers specifically rely on guilt in their relationships with their children. Is it just me? Okay, facts. But if I cuss one of these elders out, I'm disrespectful. The gaslighting of it all. Okay, come on, Bondy. Preach, preacher. Okay. I feel like you're talking directly to me. I feel all of this. When I tell y'all, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, my granny stayed commenting on my weight, and I was thin as wind my whole childhood, but I still be over analyzing my weight. The shit that they put on us, right? Things that you wouldn't you're not even thinking about, and they put it on you, and not for the rest of your life you thinking about this, and you have to do the work to counteract this negative thought that somebody else that's supposed to love you put in your mind. That shit is really hard to reconcile sometimes to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's real hard sometimes to like not be disrespectful when I think about how, you do intentional harm and then act like it's not that serious. Like, the old school adults were out of pocket sometimes. Child, not sometimes, all the time. And then dared you to feel away. Dared you to feel away. Don't breathe too hard. Don't show no type of sign of being in distress emotionally behind being disrespected by an elder. Just take it. Girl, what in the slavery? Okay. So Drew goes up to his cousin Junior's room, who is obviously full of himself. All he's worried about is having sex. And one of the first things he asked Drew was if he still was he still a virgin. And I'm like, oh yay, let's dive deep into the rape culture that has been, really steeped deeply into our, psyches in this society. Because to me, Junior's relationship with Drew as his older cousin, who was fly and suave and who he looked up to and who he was trying to be like in some respect, for him to be the one that is basically telling him to assault girls at the beach, telling him that something is wrong with him if he's still a virgin. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of those things, having the friends dog him out. It was just, to me, like, when you really think about it, I know that these were the times we were living in. I'm totally understanding that. But I think now that we're no longer in those times, we can really look at things for what they were. And to me, there should have been a conversation with Junior about that. Like, somebody should have took Junior to the side and been like, listen, I know that you're real oversexed right now. And I know because you're a teenager, all that's on your mind is having sex. I get that. But I'm really going to need for you to stop pushing that on your little cousin. And please, don't assault any girls at the beach. Do not pull any of those girls' bathing suits down at the beach. Don't muscle any girls into having sex with you. If a girl doesn't want to have sex with you, don't try to convince her to have sex with you. Like, nobody's having these conversations with these kids. And Junior is just basically disseminating fucked up information about relationships between men and women, boys and girls. Like, and his dad feels like, he's not even really interested in those types of things yet. So he doesn't want to have the conversation. It's just very weird how he didn't really have any scope on how to relate to girls until Junior is telling him these fucked up things. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm really gonna need for y'all to, do better moving forward with the way y'all talk to these kids, especially these boys, because everything Junior was doing was extremely problematic to me. The way Junior and his friends wanted to sleep with older women, child. Um, so of course Junior pretends as if he's just playing with Drew, you know, joking on him about being a virgin. Brenda comes in and tells Drew she knows he doesn't like new places, but this may be good for him. She wants him to go to the beach with everybody. And he was like, I'll catch up to y'all later. And she was like, come on, it'll be fun. Looking forward to have same thing. So he was just chilling, and then he looked out the window and saw Lauren Kelly, okay, aka Jada Pinkett. And she is the operatic ballerina out there in the sand practicing her pirouettes because she wants to be a dancer. Okay. So when he saw her looking all angelic and shit, okay. All right, he runs out there, but by the time he gets out there, she's gone. So he gets his bike and he starts walking to the beach. Junior catches up with him and takes him the rest of the way, and he shows him the Inkwell. And he was like, welcome to the Inkwell, Drew. And, kind of revealed the beach to him. Can you dig it? And it was this beautiful beach full of Black people. And in the 70s, that was such a thing. But I feel like as a Black person, period, to see something like that, it was a thing. Like even in the 90s growing up, I remember being like, oh, wow, I want to go there. Thus beginning my obsession with Martha's Vineyard. And it's, in that area of the East Coast, where they got a lot, Maine, a lot of good lobsters, lighthouses. Okay, like I really have a thing for the northeastern seaboard vibe. Like I just do. Okay. And it's because of this movie. So it was beautiful, y'all. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I love that. And then we, joined the family. Spencer gives everyone a history lesson on the Inkwell. Black folks started coming there at the turn of the century, and all of the white folks moved to the beaches up island. Kenny says bougie niggas as far as the eye can see. Downright scary, if you ask me. Which, of course, is because it's like, oh, why we gotta be bougie niggas because we was able to obtain, wealth and find a beach to live by. The fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is that a bad thing? Grandma says, Spencer, he's just kidding. Grandma, nobody needs you to make excuses for them. Thank you. Sit back. Spencer asks, isn't that what he was fighting for? The Black Panther one? Ain't that what y'all was fighting for? We are the Black Americans who have made it through economic struggle, that have obtained the American dream. And they have. They really, really have. I mean, you can't argue with it. But it's also, what have you had to give up in the process of that? Because you got to know that Spencer has had to give up a lot of his dignity in order to be in a position that he's in. Black male Republicans, like at the end when they were talking about, they got to know how to fight. That's because they play in your face all the time. They play in your face all the time. There is a huge cognitive dissonance that happens with being a Black Republican, if you ask me. I don't care what y'all are talking about. The Republican Party is steeped in racism. The liberals and all of that, they have their shit with them too. I'm not arguing, but it's like downright, without a doubt, racism. Like there's no room for it to not be racist. Like, so for me, I just kind of feel like to be one is to acknowledge it on some level and then feel like it's still in your best interest to separate yourself from the rest of your people so you can obtain this level of wealth that many other Black people cannot. And so you have to give something up on the inside. And I feel like you have to, because I work with white people and it don't matter if you a Black man that kiss ass or not. You're always going to be put in a position where you're going to work your ass off. You're going to be above board and you're going to get passed over for somebody white and mediocre. You are always going to be in a situation like that in corporate America. And I have a feeling that much like my daddy and a lot of other Black men during those times, you had a good job, you made good money, you had your upper hand at some point, and especially in your household. But essentially you had to kiss a lot of ass and you had to deal with a lot of people spitting in your face and calling it fucking rain in order to get where you are. So yeah, when you get home and you want to be an asshole, and because Spencer's an asshole. But the reason why he's an asshole is because of all of the things he has to deal with being the black Republican that makes the money to afford the house on the beach in the 70s. Kenny asked a really good question. Kenny asked, what about the black folks not allowed to make it? Where's their Inkwell? And this right here, y'all, this is where the conversation becomes current. Because this points out that even though Kenny in his mind and in his heart may have the best intentions with how he feels about black people's struggle, there's a part of this where y'all adopted being victims and not being allowed to make it. There's a part of this where you adopted that so much as truth that you stunt your own growth, that you don't try to do everything you possibly could because you already know them white folks ain't gonna let me have that. Them white folks ain't gonna let me do that. I can't do that. I'm not gonna be able to accomplish that. So you tell yourself those things before you even try, not even thinking about the fact that fuck what they're gonna let you have. What's for you is for you, and you just need to figure out a way to move around motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, put a roadblock this way, I'm moving this way. You put a roadblock this way, I'm moving that way. You know, it's a lot. It's so much for black people to go through sometimes in order to get where they are trying to be in an economic space, you know, education, all of those things. But essentially, you know that there's a way. You know there's a way. It's just if you feel like fighting that hard for it. And it feels like Kenny, like the Kenny's the dude, he's the dude that a lot of these black men who want to blame all their issues on white men, y'all were raised by the Kennys. Y'all were raised by the Kennys who actually fought, you know what I'm saying, who had to deal with those, you know, violent civil rights days. The ones who had to, just really had to deal with those things and had all of the energy and the anger from their experiences. And it put all of this fear in them. I can't have this. So they put that in their kids. And now their kids tell themselves because they black, they can't have something. When it's not really true. Yeah, they make it way harder for you. But you have to have the mindset that it may be harder for you, but you can do it. You can. You can do it because they're mediocre and they can do it. So you can do it being extra special in whatever niche you want to be in. But I really feel like nowadays when we have all these black men talking about how white people hold them down, the connection to what Kenny is saying right now is based in truth. It's based in a real thing when black people really were not able to accomplish and get certain things. But in this day and age, that no longer flies. Because no matter what, you can get you a house somewhere. No matter what, you can make you money somewhere. Like, you don't have to starve in this, in this society. You don't have to. And I'm not saying, that things don't happen that put people, in bad positions all on their own. But you know what I mean. There's a difference between the 60s and the 70s and 2022. So you can't use the same rhetoric that was being used in the 60s and the 70s to explain what's happening now. And I really feel like that's where Spencer's aggravation was coming from. Now that I'm listening to it, pull yourself up from your bootstraps, all of that shit. Spencer was low-key right. Like, he's not 100% right, because I feel like you should be able to make a way for yourself without forgetting where you come from, without forgetting your people. But there is a mindset to this that stops you from growing beyond a certain point. There's a mindset to that way of thinking that stunts your growth. And Spencer felt like, fuck all that. I'm going to get it by any means necessary. He didn't agree with Malcolm X, but it was absolutely by any means necessary, because Kenny was like, you would sell your own mother just to get ahead. That's unfortunate. But in this day and age, y'all, doesn't it feel like, man, ain't nobody putting on the cape for you niggas? Like, not no more. Not no more. It's crazy how that conversation is like basically trickled down. All of these circumstances are slightly different now, but it trickled down to being like actually a part of the conversation still. We are still having Malcolm X, Martin Luther King arguments. Thank you, only one Adrian, for the super chat. We go to the Inkwell and Men Menemsha Beach for sunset. The lobster rolls are better in Oak Bluffs, but the by the ferry. The Black Film Fest is 1st of August, HBCU week, end of July. You will love it, Bondy. Oh my God, why you told me that? I need to put that on my calendar and go to the Black Film Fest and enjoy the area. Because thank you for the super chat. I would absolutely love to go. I would love to come out there. Oh my God. But anyway, we'll get deeper into that. But I thought it was fascinating that all the times I had watched this movie before, you just always feel like Spencer is a sellout. But there is a part of this that is absolutely like honest and true about the way that Spencer feels. Like, and what that is like he said, this is America, love it or leave it. But really, what that means is at the end of the day, this is the society that we live in. Figure out how to work the society we live in. Like that to me, that was the headspace. Figure it the fuck out. You ain't got to do it like me, but figure it out. Instead of adopting this idea that somebody's withholding something from you, so you just have to be mad about it. Because that's what Kenny was like really going through. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, to continue on, because I don't want to get caught up, but the conversation, y'all, I love when he said that. You know what I'm saying? Spencer, after Kenny says, where is the black folks who wasn't allowed to make it? Where is their Inkwell? And Spencer says, Coney Island? And him and Francis bust out laughing. And it wasn't funny. Brenda didn't laugh because Brenda knows what it's like to struggle because she and Kenny are struggling. That's another conversation. We don't have to get to, I'm going to wait. I don't want to dive too deeply into it. But the choice is between picking a man for money and picking a man for love. Both sisters decided to take a different path. And it seemed as if they both have their regrets in one way or another. I think Brenda is angry that Kenny won't let go of, his Black Panther days and actually try to get some real money coming in for their family the way Spencer does. But then also, I feel like Francis is jealous of the way that she feels like Brenda getting fucked, 2 ways from Jesus when the Black Panther comes to town. Okay. Like it absolutely feels like Kenny and all of them muscles and dashikis. Let me tell y'all something. That damn Olivia Pope daddy, he was finer than a motherfucker in the Inkwell, bitch. Okay. All of the muscle that he had all up in this area right here, he was fine. Okay. And Suzanne Douglas is all like thick but muscular. Like these are beautiful Black people, y'all. Like when you watch the movie, everybody is shot beautifully. Everybody's bodies and faces, like, everybody's beautiful in this movie. Okay. And to me, it felt like Francis was jealous that Brenda was getting that back blown out. Yeah, bitch, we might be in the same car for the past 15 years, but I know one thing. I'm happy at night, bitch. Okay, this bed be happy. I don't know if you can say the same thing, Francis. The beach is nice, but dick at night may be better. Okay, listen, I don't know. But that's kind of what I felt between the two of them. So y'all, Junior is telling Drew how to pull girls' bathing suits down in the water. I told y'all that. He points out some pretty girls and tells Drew if he gets one of them under the pier, he's the Mac Daddy, Drew. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Like all of this rape culture. Oh, please get this girl under the bleachers, under the pier, so you can be a Mac Daddy and she can be coined as a hoe. It's exhausting. Y'all, Larez Tate was actually 17 turning 18 while filming this movie. And the director of the movie was only 21. Yeah. So it was definitely like young cast. Young people did this. And I love it. So Spencer can't seem to help himself after a while. And he asks if Drew is okay, with the fire thing. He says Francis told him about what happened. And Francis turns to Brenda and says she knows she wasn't supposed to say anything, but he's her husband. And Brenda says, so Spencer continues on and says the arson investigator found lighter fluid all over. Brenda says, Francis, your lips just never stop flapping, do they? And then the mama jumps in and says, well, Brenda, you know how your sister is. So you know she wrong. But you gonna sit up here and say that's how she is? And I'm just supposed to accept that? Okay, thanks for that, Mom. Spencer says, don't misunderstand us. We like Drew. We like Drew. We like Drew. Nigga, that's your nephew. You like Drew? Francis says they know a woman therapist on the island that talks to children with emotional problems. Kenny gets upset and says his son don't need to talk to no damn shrink. Spencer says, don't worry about the cost. Oh, so tell him, why you're saying that his son is crazy, that he can't afford the aid that he needs, but you can. Oh, she's a friend. Kenny says, my son is not crazy. And then Drew walks up with some seashells on his eyes, talking about, Drew, y'all see my seashells? My seashells. He's just joking. He's 16. It's a lame joke for a 16-year-old. But Spencer then says, whew, he's all right with me. As if that made him crazy because he was joking about seashells. He's a kid. What? Like, too much judgment of him by the entire family in a public forum. He's just a kid. Okay? But Spencer and Francis were right. As much as you want to dislike them, their access, their money told them that Drew needed to go to this Black female therapist on the island. And honestly, it was one of the best things that they could have done for Drew because Drew has no one to talk to. Not really. Nobody that's going to get him to talk about his feelings or inquire or show him genuine care in the process of that he feels safe with. You can tell he feels like he needs to be okay for his mom. So he can't talk to her. He can't talk to the dad because the dad's going to respond crazy whenever it doesn't sound like something that's familiar to him. Can't talk to Junior, you're going to get clowned. And you just found out from your aunt and your uncle that they like you. So no, we're not talking to them neither. He had nobody to talk to. So later that night, Junior helps Drew get dressed for the party that they're going to. He was about to wear corduroy pants. And Junior was like, you can't wear those. Those are corduroys. They make noise when you walk. You can start a fire. So stupid. Downstairs, Spencer and Kenny are having a drunken debate about the difference between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Malcolm told white America how it is. Spencer calls Malcolm a common Harlem hoodlum with no broad base support. Lies. And in fact, had made a lot of Negro enemies. It's like, what are you talking about? Martin made a lot of Negro enemies too, especially the ones that knew how much he liked white women. But whatever. Not to defile, but y'all don't ever want to keep it a buck about these things. Martin's assassin was white and he confessed. So that makes him better than Malcolm, who was killed by common Harlem hoodlums. Kenny tells him he's full of shit because at this point, Kenny is getting tired of him talking about Malcolm that way. And Spencer says, ooh, I didn't mean to offend the ex-Black Panther. Oh. And Kenny says, yes, you injured my pride because my Blackness and history is important to me. Something I think you forgot on your climb up Hunky's ladder. Spencer screams, oh, he's getting mad. Come see y'all. The Black Panther's getting mad. The last of the revolutionaries. That nigga Spencer funny. The wives come in and Kenny tells him, kiss my black ass, motherfucker. And Junior and Drew can hear the argument as well upstairs and they look at each other. It was sad. Spencer says, you take all this too seriously. And it's like, how could he not? How could he not take it seriously? They live where people struggle because of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And that right there is the fight that I always have with white people that are Republicans and Black people that think that they're going against the grain by being Republican. Because essentially for me, it's about human rights. I don't know why I have to keep arguing with people about that, but I've been saying that for years. I'm like, I would vote something else if I thought that was the best thing to do. I'm very smart and I don't like paying a whole bunch of taxes as somebody that works for myself. But I can't vote a way that I feel like takes away people's fucking rights. That matters to me. People being able to have their rights matters to me because I'm a black person and my rights have been taken from me as a person, like as a black person, as a woman, rights have been taken from me. But because white people and black people that can convince themselves they are living the same lives as white people, they don't feel like their rights are ever in question. They don't feel like their rights are ever going to be impeded upon. So they don't care about everybody else's human rights being impeded upon by the Republicans. I'm sorry, but y'all literally vote against people wanting to live their lives however the fuck they want to live their lives. And then you do the same things those people do in private. And then y'all get called out about it, and then you're able to sweep it under the rug and dance on stage to Bone Thugs and Harmony, and still, with no mental whatsoever, able to become possibly a senator. It's insane. It's insane. Do you really want to argue with me about the Democrats' bullshit when we trying to make sure we still have our rights intact? Like, that's the thing that makes me upset. This is about human rights. This is not about taxes. This is not about your religion. And this is not about any of that bullshit that y'all talk about. This should really be about the difference between people having their human rights taken and people being able to live their lives without being constantly oppressed in the society in which they live in. That's what this is about for a lot of us. So when you say you take all of this too seriously, yes, motherfucker, I take my human rights very seriously. But you've convinced yourself, cognitive dissonance, that my rights and your rights aren't the same, even though they are. So yeah, it's mad crazy. That arguments that they got into. It's crazy how back in the day the Republican Party was for black people. The time changed and the Democrats wasn't. It blows my yeah, it did change. And that's why I hate having this conversation sometimes online, because people act like there wasn't a change. There was a change. We know there was a change. Right around Reconstruction, if I recall, there was a change. They basically flipped. The Republicans became the Democrats became the Republicans. They flipped at some point. Everybody knows that. I don't have to go into the specifics of that for us to know. This is about, what is the platform about? What are you going to do once you get into that seat? That's what this is about. The change came over the dispute of slavery. Like I said, we ain't got to go into the specifics of it, but y'all know what it is, okay? Either way, in 2022, it's the difference between us having, access to healthcare and not. It's the difference between y'all helping us with these fucking student loans that we shouldn't have never had in the first place and not. Like, that's the difference now. Please tell me how the Republicans are doing something for black people when they blocking the Student Loan Forgiveness Act. Please tell me. Makes no sense at all. But anyway, back to the movie, y'all. Sorry. Spencer says he takes all this too seriously. Kenny pushes him and says, and what a fucked up thing that is. You don't even care about your own people. Spencer laughs and says, common Harlem hoodlums. Just really wanted to get under Kenny's skin, standing there in good shape, with a dick that still gets hard and a dashiki on. Kenny runs out and Spencer says he needs to grow up. This is America. Love it or leave it. And do you know what? When Spencer says he needs to grow up, Spencer wasn't lying. Kenny does need to grow up. He does. That wasn't a lie at all. And he needs to grow up because he's no longer living in the world he was living in when he started out being a Black Panther. He's not. We don't live in that world anymore. And at some point, Brenda goes off on him. Okay, and we about to see. So Brenda chases after Kenny. Okay, and Kenny goes out to the beach and they argue about her pushing them to come when Kenny didn't want to come and be around this island of bourgeois jungle bunnies. She tells him she knows what this is about. It's about a 16-year-old boy you don't know how to talk to and a dashiki you're afraid to take off. And when she said a dashiki you're afraid to take off, it means that you don't know if you'll make it in the world that we live in now, which is not the world of the fight. Not in the same way. In 1976, we're not fighting racism in the same way we were fighting it in 1966. So much had changed in that 10-year span. The assassination of a lot of the leaders, you know what I'm saying? Just the integration of everything. 76 is 4 years from the 80s. Okay. So you know that some things are the same, but some things are very much different. And I feel like he didn't know how to blend into this world. And I don't even blame him. I don't even really blame him, because think about it. If I'm used to fighting white people, how am I now supposed to go and work for them? How am I supposed to go and deal with the microaggressions of white people after being a Black Panther? After being somebody that fought against that shit. Now you want me to put that down. You want me to forget all about that and go get my dignity beat up every day for a paycheck. Yeah, Kenny, you need to open a business, nigga. You need to open a business. Y'all need to figure out how to do something else. But I do feel like in that time frame is go get a job. Go get a job where you're gonna get paid by somebody white, and you're gonna have to deal with the microaggressions after coming out of being a Black Panther. It's a whole different. I mean, it's hard for us as regular Black people to deal with white people's microaggressions in 2022. I couldn't imagine what he as a Black man had to deal with in the 70s, being that militant, coming off being a Black Panther. So yeah, I understood when she said a dashiki you're afraid to take off. I was like, that's what it is. He is needing to grow out of the space he was in. So he runs off and she says, I'm not chasing you, Kenny. And when I say that nigga took off down the beach, like fuck it, and started running and took off, I said, damn, he was in excellent shape. Jesus Christ, Joe Morton. I was just saying, like Joe Morton would have got it out of me back then. That boy, ooh, that man was fine as a motherfucker. And then when he smiled, you know what I'm saying? He had that little crooked smile. He was swagged the fuck out. Like, yeah, I understand. I understand, Brenda. We all understand, Brenda. I feel like as long, she was talking about how his friends, those tired parolees you call friends, a lot of criminals too. A lot of friends with criminals and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get it together, Kenny. Open up a tire shop or some shit. So y'all, Junior's best friends, Daryl and Mo, come to pick him up. Junior! Too funny. Okay, Junior stick his head out the window and say, hold up, I'm coming. I got to finish with your girlfriend. Like, they clown each other down, okay? They acted like Drew was too lame to come with them. And Junior, who is obviously the leader, says, I'm not playing with y'all. And I love that. There was a moment where it was like, if you two niggas think that my little cousin not coming with us, y'all got me fucked up. Like, there was like a moment. And I was like, okay, hey now. So they get to the party, y'all. And they leave Drew to his own devices. Okay. Can we talk about the fact that Junior's friends who's supposed to be there for women start dancing with each other? Dancing. She's a dancing machine. Automatic, systematic, full of self-contained. I always fuck the words up. To your body. Yeah. Captivating, stimulating. He's such a sexy baby. He will blow your mind. I always forget the words, y'all. The way he moves his body, just like he don't care. So stimulating, moving everywhere. Sexy baby. Make me feel so good. Just like you knew you would. Dancing. Yeah, that was the shit. I ain't gonna lie. Jade performing Dancing Machine was the shit, okay? But anyway, so Junior's friends dance together, even though they do all this joking on Drew. Drew tries to be like them and talks to one of the girls, talking about, hey, get it to the dance floor so I can smoke it with your hot feet. Girl, He don't even know what to say. Girl was like, "Are you waiting on a bus or what? Like the fuck away from me." And Drew, look, Drew took it like a champ. He was like, "All right, bitch," danced and well, he didn't say all right, bitch. You know, he just put his head up and he walked away. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was Jade, y'all. Jade was the shit back in the day. Okay, they still are. Anyway, so he had his feelings hurt, but he kept his head high. Then the ugly girls who are all sitting on the bleachers because nobody wants to dance with them. Did you notice how dark complected those girls were? That bothered me. Anyway, um, but the girls were like, "Hi." One of them was actually cute to me, like the one that was on the very low. She was, "Hi," and he, he turned around and he was like, and then he turned around and was like, "Ooh, Lord," and I was just like, "How dare you, nigga? How dare you? How dare you?" Okay. Y'all work on my nerves. Y'all always want to be with people that don't want to be with y'all, and then people that like y'all and y'all want to act like y'all too cute. Funny looking ass. Anyway, so Lauren Kelly is standing in the middle of the dance floor by herself, like a goofy bitch. I was like, who stands in the middle of the dance floor while everybody dancing, just waiting on somebody to walk up to them? That was weird. But anyway, Drew wanted to dance with her. Junior's friends tell Drew, go get that dance, go dance with her. And they bucked him up. So he goes over there, try to get the dance. But before he could get there, whole man walk up. Come on, let's dance, baby, with his big ass back. And they was like, Drew, still try to cut in, try to cut in. Drew, no, don't do it, Drew. Drew go and say, excuse me, I'd like to cut in. And the dude mushed him to the ground. And you could hear Daryl and Mo laughing their asses off in the background when Drew just runs out. And Junior saw him and he was like, Drew. But he was dancing with Tanya Jefferson. So he was gonna keep doing what he was doing. But it worked on my nerves. But they did sing, Jade did sing, I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel like I feel, baby, come on. Oh, come on. Let's get it on. Oh, baby. Let's get it on. Let's love, baby. Ooh, Lord, I love me some J Boy. Don't walk away, boy. Don't walk away. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. But anyway, y'all, yeah, the party wasn't. It didn't end well. It didn't end well at all. Okay, so Sunday morning, because that must have been Saturday. Sunday morning, Brenda and Francis are reminiscing about their daddy eating grits and scrapple in his overalls, girl. And Francis says, my Spence hates grits. He calls it plantation food. And she laughs. And it's like, girl, shut up. Like, why would you even tell us that? We grew up eating grits. Plantation food? A grain? Do you know that plantations are essentially large farms? Anyway, I know what he means. Food eaten only by slaves. But no, 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 no. Ritzy titsy white people love them some shrimp and grits. Just bring y'all ass to New Orleans and you would have found that out. Anyway, then their mom asked if Brenda and the Black Panther are having problems. And Brenda says, we have problems just like every other family, mama. That's all it is. Then Spence comes in hungover, because he was fucked up last night when they got into it. And he says, that was Dr. Wade on the phone. She says, Drew can come in this morning. And Drew comes in and goes to relight the stove. And Spence and Francis, no, 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 get out of my kitchen, out of my kitchen. Ugh. Y'all ain't gonna lie. Glenn Turman is one of the best parts about this movie because he is hilarious. The whole movie, y'all. So Drew, Kenny, and Brenda go to see the therapist. Y'all, I love me some Phyllis Yvonne Stickney. Okay, I do love me some Phyllis Yvonne Stickney. Okay, and that's the lady that plays the therapist. Sit you like a box cider right there. That's not what she said in this scene, but I love her playing this role. Okay, so she asks how Drew likes the island. He says just a big rock with some salty water. They talk about Yago, and his dad gets all loud and upset. He's walking around the room all aggressive and shit. Brenda says he's not talking to them. Kenny starts going off about how instead of being out in the streets raising hell, he's quoting dead white people. Brenda says, well, what would you rather him be? Like you, a hoodlum in training? There go that word again, hoodlum. The session ends with them screaming at each other, and she tells Drew to just, the therapist tells Drew to just be open to the island. I'm sure you'll find it's more than just a big rock and some salty water. Drew, Brenda tells Drew she's sorry when when her and Kenny get in a car and leave Drew because Drew had his bike. And Drew pulled his doll out before he rolled off, and the therapist was able to see it. But Drew finds Heather and Harold playing tennis, y'all. And Heather and Harold are AJ Johnson, whose abs you can see through her clothes in this yellow outfit over here. Okay, Lord have mercy. And then y'all see them here at the bottom, on the bottom right. That's Morris Chestnut playing Harold. Okay. And they're playing tennis with another couple, and you can tell that Harold is only worried about the other woman's ass. Heather ends up falling, and Drew is the only one that comes to help her up off the ground. Junior, walks up just as he's saying, the kindness of chivalry or something like that. It was a Shakespeare line or some shit. And Junior was like, "Say, bro, stop with the lame read. Like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to the beach." And she thanks him. She remembers him, and she remembers him mentioning the beauty of chivalry. So Junior walks up, they go to the beach. Lauren Kelly is laying out on the beach, and Junior is telling Drew to leave her alone and she's just going to tease him. And he still walks over there, like almost in a trance. And he's just standing there, and she's trying to bathe in the sun, and she's like, "You're in my lights." And he apologized. She was like, "Did you lose something?" The attitude is on 1,000, right? And he says, "You're the operatic ballerina." And she says, "Are you Junior's cousin?" Like, she knows who he is, but she's just mad aggressive. And then she sees her ex-boyfriend with his big back walking down the beach with another woman. And Drew sees her see it. And so he then tells her, if you would leap, I'm sorry, he said jump instead of leap during your pirouettes, then you'll get a lot more, you'll have a little more room, and you stick out, strong legs. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to give her tips on how to dance. And it was really just to spark a conversation so he can distract her. Drew's extremely emotionally intelligent. He may not be socially intelligent, like, social cues, but he absolutely reads emotional intelligence. And that comes from having a father that's volatile and a mother that you feel the need to protect. And you can tell on some level, Drew may not feel like he has to protect his mother, but he feels that he has to be soft with her or delicate with her because that's the way she is with him. But also because their dad, because the dad is volatile. And is always angry. Hey, I never saw this movie, but the review making me want to watch it. You should watch it. It's a really good movie. That black therapist understood how different he was. She did. She really did. Lauren was like, whatever, to him giving her tips on how to dance. Spence and Francis throw a big party at their house, okay? Is everybody having a wonderful time? Y'all know how she loved to come downstairs with her arms up, and Spence is loud. "Oh, I'm nasty. Do the doggy. Do the dog." Like, child, it was hilarious. The house is packed. Daryl and Mo are dancing with each other, but with Tanya Jefferson in between them. Like, one is holding the other dude's leg with her in between them. I said, what the fuck is this? I'm tired of y'all. Okay? Because y'all are weird as fuck. And y'all get the clown everybody while y'all be doing weird shit in the background. Okay? Anyway, Harold starts talking to a woman sitting next to him and Heather on the sofa as soon as Heather gets up to go outside. Kenny is able to finally relax and have a good time and dance with his wife. You know what I'm saying? Buddy over there. Buddy over there. Look, they was having a good time. Junior brings a drunk girl up to his room. I didn't like that, but we're going to leave it alone because she looked drunk. She looked drunk. He looked sober, and he was bringing her up to his room to coerce her into some type of sexual activity, obviously. Rape culture. Drew is isolating when Heather finds him on the beach. She says, "Didn't you help me earlier at the tennis courts?" And he says, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, you're Francis and Spencer's nephew, right? Your parents are Kenny and Brenda. I just met them earlier." And he was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "It's a really nice party. There's some girls who could possibly use some chivalry." And then before he can even say anything, Harold comes on the beach. "Heather, I gotta go to work early. Come on now. Come on." He's always screaming at her. That's another thing. Y'all, to me, a lot of these relationships looked abusive and nobody's like really saying anything. Like, I don't think Kenny was hitting Brenda, but the relationship seems slightly abusive. But Harold and Heather, the way Harold was always screaming at Heather and shit, no, that and making her feel bad, like it was coming off like, he might have slapped her around or something like that. But anyway, not saying that he did, but because I feel like a lot of times in the 90s, they would not want the person to be completely one thing, because then you would just focus on that one thing, but they would have the personality traits and they would do things that make you think about people that actually like abuse. Because that's what I was feeling about Harold. Okay. um where was I? Another thing I didn't like was that when Heather went to run to meet Harold, he turned his back and started walking away before she met up with him. Showed a total lack of care. Exactly. They were verbally abusive most of the time. Yeah. Junior and his boys take Drew to a new beach full of overweight white people. Hilarious. But Drew just so happens to trip and fall over Harold with another woman on the beach, topless, massaging her back. He's yelling, "Get out of here, man. Damn. Come on, get out of here." And then after Drew runs off, then he starts massaging the woman again. I'm like, nigga, you weird. Like, how you go from being that angry to then massaging the bitch? Like, people should watch out for men who flip like that. Anyway, then he goes to see the doctor again, and she noticed it. She was like, "You like my locks, don't you?" And she said, "Come on, sit your little backside or right there." And she twists his hair. Y'all, lyrics said the wig that he had on at this moment was the wig that Martin had on during season 3, episode 1. Y'all remember when he went to the temple, Naji Ramba, and they came and found him, and half the head was twisted, and the other half was an afro? Yeah, that's the wig. Niggas said they got that wig. It was around the same time. Somebody probably was like, y'all, when you think about the connections, it probably was the exact same wig, y'all, if you think about it, because they have connections. Like, Tisha Campbell was visiting AJ Johnson on the set of this movie when they were filming. That's how she met Dwayne Martin. That's how they started dating. I even found out during the taping of this movie that Will Smith was coming to see Jada because he was trying to get her to be on Fresh Prince. But at the time, actors and actresses either were doing movies or television, but not really doing both. The only people that was doing both at the time was like him and Queen Latifah. Outside of that, you was one or the other. So to see, for Jada to basically turn him down for Fresh Prince and for them to then get married and all of these things later on, it was just a lot of stuff was happening in Black Hollywood at the time, and everybody was kicking it together. And I kind of love that. Anyway, so she asked him about his friend Yago and asked to meet him. And when and then she asked, I'm sorry, and when he does, we find out his grandmother made Iago for him when he was young. She tells him he's gorgeous. He's simply gorgeous. Like, it was the first time somebody wasn't being mean towards his friend. You know what I'm saying? It meant something. It showed care for where he was. But she tells him Iago is gorgeous and asks if he tried to talk him out of the fire. And he said Iago was in on it. It was just an experiment. He was just trying to make rocket fuel. And the next thing he knew, their house was on the news. He fights back tears. And this is such good acting for Lorenz Tate, y'all. Lorenz Tate was 17 years old. It's excellent acting. Right after playing in Menace to Society, this showed such a great range for him as an actor. And as he's fighting back the tears, and he was like, what I'm supposed to do, with this fire. And she says, open up. Let the world meet Yago's best friend. It will be all right. It seems like people don't appreciate you for who you are, but those that matter, they will catch on. And I love that she said that, because I felt like in the moment I needed to hear it. Basically saying that you are different, and that's okay, because the people that are meant to be in your life are going to find your uniqueness special. They're going to love it. You know what I'm saying? They're going to appreciate it about you versus viewing it as a negative, you know? So that was another beautiful moment where somebody actually poured into Drew for just simply being who he is versus his experience of being judged and told to be something different than what he is. So he rides his bike to town with his hair twisted and feeling better about himself. And Heather has been waiting on Harold to pick her up for 30 minutes. So he offers to take her home on his bike because he has a two-seater bike. And it was so funny because she was like, okay, so she gets on. And when he rides off with her, we see Lauren Kelly standing across the street watching. So that made her feel some type of way. Like, I know he liked me. What he doing with that older woman? That made her interested in him, even though I think she already kind of was. Because she notices he's different. And I think Lauren feels like she's different, but she's just a pretty girl. And she has a fucked up family life. So she got issues with her that make her look on the outside like she's the same as everybody else, but she has aspirations and wants something for herself besides just marrying some rich man, it seems like. So I think she recognized his differentness, but felt that she couldn't really, really couldn't experience it in a real way. I don't know why. She just has a lot of walls and boundaries up, Lauren. But they get back to Heather's house. She offers to make him some lemonade. He's looking at this album that she has on the kitchen table. It was Bitches Brew by Miles Davis. A really good album. Long, but a really good album. And then Harold walks in with his beach towel on. And she was like, where were you? You were supposed to pick me up. And then all of a sudden he went from, kind of being adversarial towards Drew to like, oh, I forgot I was supposed to pick her up. Yeah, nigga, calm down. Okay. He gave your wife a ride while you were out on the beach with some other woman in a fucking towel, forgetting to come and get her. Ugh. Anyway, he slapped the shit out of Drew on the chest and gave him a 20. And Drew just was like, I don't need that, and walked out. You know what I'm saying? Left. So y'all, Kenny takes Drew on a boat ride, and y'all, I hate that I can't find it. I know Terrence Blanchard did the music for this movie. I really wish they would have did a soundtrack score, because the jazz that was played in the background of this movie, but specifically during this scene, man, I loved it. And it's one of them songs I wish that I could go back and listen to over and over again, but I can't find it anywhere. But it's na, 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 na. Like, I don't, because it's in my head. But I loved it. If you've seen the movie, then you know how beautiful this scene was, right? So Kenny and Drew finally get this moment together, and he's like, ask me whatever you want to ask me. Funny that it happened on the water, because I remember the conversation I had with my mom happening on the beach too. But anyway, so they're in the boat, and he, is like, you want to ask me about anything, ask me. And he tells him, he asked him, what's a clitoris? And instead of explaining it for what it is, he tells Drew it's like a guitar string when you pluck it, which is so annoying to me. And it goes back to the terrible way that parents communicate sex to their children. Because if this nigga plucks some girl clitoris, that's gonna fucking hurt. That's gonna hurt. So don't give him bad advice like that. Tell him what a clitoris is. Tell him it's basically like a magic spot on a woman. Okay. If you're about to get into it with her and you want her to be turned on, this is an area that you may want to gently rub. Okay. Gently. Okay. Wash your hands first. Ask for permission. See, this is the shit that you should have been telling Drew. But what comes out of your mouth is it's like a guitar string when you pluck it. Don't make no damn sense. But it was good for their relationship, child. Okay. So when they get back to the house, Francis says that Lauren Kelly called. So he rushes over to her house and knocks on her door impatiently, like excited, beating on the door. And she comes to the door. Are you trying to knock my door down? He was like, you called me? And she was like, I did. He was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, well, you're here now. So what do you want to do? He's like, what? Like, what do you want to do, Drew? Like, just all this attitude and shit. Like, why you can't act like you like him if you asking him out on a date? The fuck? Because that's basically what she did. Okay. But she says, is that your bike? Yeah, you know that's his bike because you saw him riding that bike with Heather. I want to ride your bike to town. I want to ride your bike to the arcade. And he's like, okay, well, this is like, save the history lesson, Drew. Just show me how to ride, okay? Just a lot of attitude, okay? Child, do we have to tell people to brush their teeth and take a bath? I'm sorry. Anyway, so they get on the bike, they have fun, but she's mean to him. Then eventually she wants to get lobster and gets mad when he says he doesn't have that type of money. She says, okay, let's go to the lake. They go to the lake. She tells him, well, it's only 30 feet, Drew. Jump down there and get a lobster from the track. And he was like, I can't swim. She pushes him in the water. Mind you, it wasn't 30 feet. It might have been 10 or 12 tops. But still, he can't swim. And thank God he didn't drown because you pushed him in the fucking water and he can't swim. Sitting up there, bitch, what if he would have died? Oh my God. But they got the lobster. And, he chases her down the pier with the lobster in hand. And it was just like the wide shot of, her screaming and him running after her. It was just such a beautiful, free moment. And that's one of the things that I love so much about the Inkwell. These Black kids were able to just run around and be free in their growing without being obstructed by some fucking police car or some white person calling the cops or telling them they couldn't be here. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it was such a free feeling to watch these movies back in the day because everything seemed to be, embedded with racism on some level. And this is one of the times where it's underlying, it's in the background, but the kids are interrupted in this childhood experience. And I love that about this movie. So they cooked the lobster by fire on the beach and they talked. Lauren used to be the Christy Doll girl on a commercial. So she wants to be famous. She wants to be an artist. She wants to be a dancer. When he says it's getting late, she says, there are no folks to worry about. And what we find out about Lauren is that it's only her and her mom. Her mom works a lot. And as long as she doesn't get pregnant, her mom could care less. And her dad split. So Lauren has extreme abandonment issues. And honestly, it was the perfect role for her, for Jada, because Jada's child life was like that too. Jada's mom was on drugs. There's no daddy that we know of. So Jada also wanted to be an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was perfect for her as an actress at that time. This character yanked him in that water for that lobster and he only got one. But what he asked her after they date, there's some questions one shouldn't have to ask. Paraphrased. Profound. Wait, type it again because I'm confused. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. But anyway, she says that his folks seem pretty cool, and she asks which one he will go with when they split up. And this is another one of those times where somebody is, I feel like, I don't want to say assaulting, but somebody is taking Drew out of a blissfully ignorant moment. Y'all know how I mentioned like these blissfully ignorant moments that you have as a kid. When Lauren said, which parent will you go with when they split up? He never even thought about that. So now you've put fear on him that he didn't have before, all because that's your experience. But she's just a kid. So for her, if it happened to her, it must be happening to everybody, because she said, think about it, Drew. How many people's parents do you know stay together? So he answers and he says, I don't know. Whichever one will have me, I guess. That made me fucking sad. I don't know why, but that made me so sad when he said that. He was like, whichever one will have me, I guess. The idea that one of them would not want him. Like, that shit broke my heart. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay. He asked if she ever felt like she was from another planet. And she was like, what? Like, she's about to, dispel what he says. He was like, well, because you ask yourself questions you shouldn't have to ask. Like, is there a God? Or why is there racism? And she says, or like, where do we go when we die? He says, yeah. And she says, you know what, Drew, I never thought about it like that. So, in one way, where she's opening his mind up to the possibility that his parents can be getting a divorce and that makes him feel bad, she's opening his mind up to just thinking about the world in a bigger way, thinking about her existence in a bigger way. And I think when you have that type of deep thinking and somebody, opens your mind up to that type of deep thinking, it can lead you to having a more fulfilling existence. For real. Because people don't ask themselves the big questions sometimes. And sometimes you absolutely have to have that pondering thought in your mind because it drives you to look for understanding. And when you are on a journey looking for some type of spiritual understanding, which is what that sounds like, um, they're kids, but that's basically how I understand that as an adult, like questioning existence, questioning if there's a God, questioning why racism. Those are questions that we consistently ask ourselves as we grow old. Even if we think we know the answers, we still ask ourselves those questions. We still feel like we don't have finite answers to those questions. The idea that you should know the answers to those questions, because if not, you're an alien. Like, it's some deep shit to think about. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it that we don't know these things? Is it because we're not supposed to be here? You know what I'm saying? Like, asking yourself questions like that, it shows a deeper emotional, like his emotional range as a kid was like progressive, and it just showed you like how smart he was. To me, it did. Like, a kid asking themselves those types of existence questions, that's like profound thinking for a 16-year-old, if you ask me. He asked her if she has a boyfriend, and she says, no, not right now. And he asked her to go to the bicentennial, and she reluctantly says yes. Okay. So 8 o'clock on the dot, they going out July 4th for the bicentennial. Okay. So Spencer thinks he's teaching Kenny how to play tennis, y'all, because he doesn't want to play. Kenny doesn't want to play, but Spencer thinks that he's teaching Kenny something. He makes this assumption, right? So they place a bet. Kenny is extremely athletic, and Spence is not. Spence is on the tennis court smoking a cigarette while he's playing tennis. But because he got an ascot on, he must know what he's doing. Child, I guess. Kenny ends up besting him. And Spence says he was conned by a low-life Harlem hoodlum. I know what you did. Yeah, this is like my favorite part of the movie. Because they start arguing, right? He was like, come on, speak your mind, chump. And he says, you conned me. We say office informations manager, because that's what Kenny's title was in the Black Panther Party, was to disseminate information from Chicago. So he was like, I know what you did. You ran the fucking copy machine. For I would never not laugh at this man during this scene. I know what you did. You ran the fucking copy machine. Spence says, well, that's better than being a hiney kissing poly fucking titian that would screw his own mother just to get ahead. Oh, they was reading down. Spence says, no wonder your son is missing a screw. This is when Brenda stands up. Oh shit, because you didn't say something about my son. Hold up. Okay. Kenny says, you want to talk about screws, man? Talk to your wife, who's been complaining about not getting a decent lace since she married your tight ass. Y'all. And the way Spence looked at Francis, like, you said something? And she was like, Like, my bad. And then she looked at Brenda like, bitch, you weren't supposed to tell your husband. And Brenda was like, bitch, so remember, so that's your husband. Remember, that's my husband. Girl. And this is when we realize what the fight is between two of them. Okay, so he looks at Francis and all of that. But when Brenda and Francis start arguing, that shit was hilarious to me. You better get him before he gets killed. Before who gets killed? Before Spence kills your husband. Ha! Spence killed Kenny. That's a hoot. Oh, you want to let him fight then? Let him fight then. Go ahead, honey. Kick his ass. She said, Spencer got a brown belt in karate. She said the only brown belt Spence ever had is hanging in y'all's closet. Stop playing with me. Girl, I got a brown belt in karate. I'm fucking done. Child, that fight was too funny because Kenny punched him. Funny, you like, and he jumped on Kenny, and Kenny was like spitting him on his back. He's like, I got you, motherfucker. I got you. Y'all, if y'all don't watch this movie for no other scene, you gotta watch this movie for that one scene. That shit is hilarious, y'all. I'm sorry. I will forever laugh my ass off at that scene. So, y'all, Drew gets home, and Junior wants to know about what happened with Lauren Kelly. Once again, making Drew feel bad for not getting in between her legs, okay, or not getting her legs open. He says they will have to fix that, and he can't wait to tell the boys. I'm like, shut up, Junior. You always can't wait to tell your weird ass friends some shit. Then Drew hears his mom and dad arguing about him coming in late. Kenny is obviously drunk, screaming about pubic hair. Drew ponders who he'll choose if they divorce. The next day, Drew is hanging with Junior and his boys, not too far away from the beach in town, sitting on the car chilling. And Mo brings up school starting in 2 months, and they threaten to make him walk home if he says something stupid like that again. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that Mo is excited about school starting again. And y'all basically tell him that his excitement about his matriculation is stupid. And if he continues to be excited about his matriculation and learning more things, that y'all are going to disown him and make his ass walk home. Once again, like, I just want to, I'm pointing out the things that are being reinforced to young Black men at this time. Have sex with girls, whether they want you to or not. And don't like school. I'm just saying, be stupid and have sex. That's what seems to be cool. If you're telling me that it's not cool for him to be excited about school, it's not cool for Drew to still be a virgin at 16, then you telling me that it is cool for motherfuckers to be stupid and oversexed. That's what's being pushed here. But okay. So they see Harold with another client. Okay, everybody seems to know that Harold is cheating on Heather at this point. And Drew decides to follow them. And he sees him kissing and feeling all on this woman in the damn alleyway. Drew tries to go and tell Heather about it, but I feel like you could tell Heather knew that he was going to say something she didn't want to hear. And she had just got out the shower. So she was like, look, Drew, I got to go. And so, he was like, I got to go too. But he came up with a plan. We'll come back to that. Brenda goes looking for Kenny, and she stops on the beach to ask her mom if she's seen him. And she says, yes, he went out past the jetty. When Brenda starts to walk away, her mom stands up and calls. So she says, Brenda. And Brenda turns around and she says, I love you. And she waves at her. And it was like Brenda was catching the love in her hand and putting it in her chest so she could save it for later or something like that. You can tell it meant so much for her mama to say that to her. My problem with this movie at this moment is that something happened for Brenda's mama to soften to her. And I feel like the argument that Brenda had with Kenny the night before must have made her mom feel bad for her in some respects, which is why she chose to be softer with her in this moment. But I wish we would have saw it, because we see that there is something very tumultuous about their relationship. So I'm mad that we didn't get to see the change happening between Brenda and her mom. So she finds Kenny and she sits down next to him on the beach and she tells him things have changed so much since they got together. Like I was telling y'all. And it's 1976. So they've been together for 16 years. So they've been together since 1960. They've been together since 1960, y'all. 1960 is a much different time than 1976, bro. A much different time. Not only with politics, fashion, and all of those things, but the way men and women deal with each other. Very different. And she says it used to be so much easier to just talk. She says they lost it and she doesn't know how to get it back. But for their sake, they have to try and save it. And he finally says something. He says, how? She says, maybe we remember how it started 16 years ago. He asked if she believes. He was like, you don't believe that I ever stopped loving you, do you? And she says, no. And he says, good, because I haven't. And he smiled at her. And I was just like, girl, yeah, we see why you got him, girl. We see. All this muscle afro and nice teeth. We get it. But even in this moment, y'all, as much as I feel like Kenny and Brenda are going to fix it, you know what I'm saying? This moment was still very much Brenda as the wife, as the woman, trying to beg her husband to fix their relationship. And it's not that he doesn't want to fix it, but he didn't vocalize that to her. You know what I'm saying? She's still doing all the talking. She's still the one that's trying to make it work. And I feel like on some level that is not going to work moving forward if he continues to sit in that seat in their relationship. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like we saw a difference as time went on, throughout the end of the movie. So Drew rigs Harold's car, y'all. And this is what I was talking about. Drew rigged it so that weights, because he always working out, right? The weights that he had outside his house, once he got into his car, there was a note on the steering wheel calling him a cheater. And when he tried to get out the car, those weights sucked to the doors because he's a two-door car. So he couldn't get out the car. And then Drew also had like a firecracker. It was just a firecracker. But he lit it and he had it kind of set up all around the car so it would look like his car was about to explode. And Drew was just giggling his ass off, right? I mean, he was just screaming Heather's name, Heather, 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 to the point where she couldn't hear him over the waves of the ocean. And he couldn't get out. So he ripped the convertible top off and jumped out of the car. It was the funniest shit, right? The funniest shit. So he ran inside and had to tell Heather that somebody rigged his car. So the family goes to the beach, y'all, and everybody's all fucked up from the fight that they got into. Spence got a brace around his neck. Kenny got a bandage on his wrist. And Spence is in a lot of pain. So whenever he moves, it hurts, and they passing food around. And Kenny can see him in pain, so Kenny apologizes. And Spence says, no need. I learned a very important lesson. Never judge a book by its cover, huh? And Kenny, he said, yeah, I learned something too. Black Republicans can fight. And he was like, Black Republican, I have to. He was like, I figured that out the first day I got it. He said, why you say that? He was like, any black man that got the nerve to have Richard Nixon on his wall has got to know how to deal. And they all laugh about it. And it was funny because we're still the same people, but we're now more understanding of each other because we're similar. You know why? Because to me, and I feel like something else that we didn't see, Spencer and Kenny had a lot of the same responses. Both get drunk and scream and holler at their wives when they get into fights, or scream and holler, period. You know what I'm saying? So it made me feel like at some point they must have recognized each other. They must have saw each other. Even in the fight, y'all had to see each other at some point, because this was the understanding that we're different, but we ain't that different. You know what I'm saying? So Junior helps Drew get ready for his date with Lauren. And when he gets to her house, she doesn't answer. She the one that said 8 o'clock on the dot, y'all. And he sat there on the steps with the flowers until it got dark. And then the light came on inside her house, and he turned around and he goes up to the window to see what's going on inside the house. And she's standing there in her panties with her ex-boyfriend, big buff ass nigga with some tighty whities on. And she sees him, and you can tell that the shot wasn't congruent, because it makes it seem as if she was smiling, like she knew he saw her, and then she was smiling about it. But that's not what happened. She was smiling at first because dude is, about to fuck her. Lauren Kelly gonna get pregnant, but whatever. She was smiling, and then she saw Drew through the window, and then she looked sad, and he looked even worse. And so he threw the flowers on the ground and he ran away. And it was so hurtful. It was so hurtful. It's like, why would you even make the date with him if you didn't want to go? Why? It was so messed up. And he was so hurt, he ran through the city all the way to the beach. Now, Harold. Excuse me. Y'all make sure y'all like the video. Harold is talking to Heather. Come on now, Heather. You said you wanted to go to this parade. Now you dragging your feet. You've been aggravating me all damn day. Come on. Talking to this lady crazy for no reason. She walks into the room. I almost feel like he did it on purpose. If you always make her feel like she's annoying you and aggravating you, then she always feels like she needs to please you and try to fix whatever she's done wrong, when really you just want to keep her in that position because you're the one that's doing shit wrong. Okay? But anyway, but that was Lauren Kelly being fucked up though. Lauren Kelly got issues. She can't be with nobody like Drew. She had to self-sabotage that. That went too well. So she had to self-sabotage that situation, if you ask me. She wasn't ready for that. She's not emotionally mature enough to be with somebody like Drew. He made her happy. She had a good time with him. He didn't make her feel small. He didn't disregard her. He kept his word. But she can't receive that type of love because she doesn't feel like she's deserving of it. I could pretty much guess that that's what Lauren Kelly was going through and why she sabotaged it and went back to the ex-boyfriend and tried to make him feel like he was deserving of her. After Heather finished screaming, after Harold finished screaming at Heather, come on now, Heather. She comes in and she throws his duffel bag that he had in the trunk of his car. She throws it on his lap and she says, and I was so sorry that you missed your business meeting. Because that's where he was supposed to be going. But inside that bag that he put in the trunk before Drew did all of that to his car was his change of clothes and a bottle of wine that showed where he was really going. And she threw the bag on him and then she threw the bottle. And he was like, come on now, Heather, this was a gift from a client. And she was like, just admit it. Just admit it. No, I need to hear you say it. No. And he's denying like he always does, denying. It's not, no. And she, get out. Just slaps him and tells him to get out. And he was like, trying to argue back and forth with her. And this is what he said that really stuck out to me. He says, she wasn't saying that last night. And he gave her everything she ever wanted. And she's doing this to them. I gave you everything you ever wanted. Cars, shoes, clothes, everything. And this is what you do to us? You can't tell me that Harold is not a narcissist. You get caught cheating for the umpteenth time because you can tell based on their conversation, they've been here before. And he's been able to convince her that it's a lie. It's not true. Remember what I told you, baby? It's just me and you. But when he realized that wasn't working and she slapped him and told him to get the fuck out, then all of a sudden he's mad and telling you that you're hurting the relationship. Not him cheating on you publicly with all of these random fucking people all the time in front of everybody. Not that. You telling him to get out is you ruining y'all's relationship after everything he did for you. She cried so hard. Y'all. And this is where shit gets a little confusing for me. The only reason that I am not going to see this in the statutory rape way that I would like to, because essentially Heather was grown and Heather goes to the beach distraught. And Drew is there distraught. And to thank him, because she says, you did that to Harold's car. And she said, thank you. Very, very, she needed to know the truth from somebody outside of herself, because he had been playing mind games with her. So she would keep questioning herself. So when it happened, when it happened this time, it made it cemented that that's what was happening, because somebody else was trying to show it to me. And she thanked him. And I think that she had sex with him to thank him. I do. I think that she noticed his otherness. She noticed that he was by himself. She noticed something about him where it felt like she knew that this would be very valuable to him as a boy. And I don't like it. I don't, because she's grown having sex with a 17-year-old boy. But I really do think in her mind and in the society that they lived in at the time, it was a way to give him the leg up that he needed. Because if you pay attention, yeah, I don't think she was manipulating him either. Because the next morning when it was over, she said, goodbye, Drew. Meaning that this can never be anything more than what it was in this moment. And what it was in this moment was a thank you. Because a lot of us felt like boys were whack or lame until they had sex. And when they had sex, there was this moments of gathering themselves, and now they see themselves as men, and now they're less awkward. The sex was meant to make him less awkward. There's an in-between stage in between being prepubescent and being a teenager, where you are a teenager and eventually in the body of what you're going to be as a man. He was 17, 18 years old at the time, supposed to be 16 though on the movie, but this is the 70s. 16 is not considered as bad in the 70s. It's still terrible to me right now. I don't give a fuck. But I feel like it was different because she felt like she was giving him something that he needed and he had not got. I really do. I feel like it was meant to help him have confidence. It was helped to make him feel like somebody saw him. It was meant to make him feel wanted, because she saw how he felt. When she looked at him, she said, you look like how I feel. That's what she said. I think she saw herself in him and wanted to give him something in the moment. It was a sweet moment that was completely inappropriate. Yeah, that mentality is still highly present in our community. It is. I don't consider it that either. I really don't. I don't consider it, statutory. I don't. Because I don't think it was meant to be a relationship. I think it was merely meant to be a gift to him. Honestly. Like, I really do feel like she thought of it as a gift to him and something he wanted as a young boy, as a 16-year-old boy. Sex made him fit in. Sex made him less awkward. And so she gave him that. And that's why I think the thought process came from, because after that, he was different. And he was also more solid after that, too. Not that sex makes anybody solid. I don't even think it was really the sex, but I think that was the only way that she knew how to show him what she wanted him to feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it seems like sex is the only way to get across the feeling that you have for a person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's to have sex with them, it's to make love to them, with that, whatever. Like, I feel like it was the way to express that feeling to him. And so he could then, take that with him. But it still was highly inappropriate for the age difference, for sure. So, like I said, the next morning, she was up before him and she said, goodbye, Drew. Like, she didn't even really, it was just goodbye, Drew, and nothing else. And so he understands and he goes home. And his dad sees him first because they're getting ready to leave. And he says, hold up. He sees him. He looks, like he been somewhere. The daddy can see it. So he was like, hold up. He goes out there to talk to him on his own. He's like, where you been, son? He was like, out with a friend. He was like, with a girl. He was like, with a girl, huh? He was like, all right. And he could, the daddy could tell. So they had like a moment. And Drew asked, how you and mama doing? He was like, what you mean, that fine woman over there? We're gonna be all right. And that made him feel good too because he was scared his parents were gonna divorce. So Junior comes outside and sniffs him and can tell that he had sex. And he was like, it wasn't Lauren. He was like, well, who was it? And you know he's not gonna tell because Drew is a gentleman. And gentlemen don't kiss and tell. Okay. So he chasing him down the street as they leave. They decide to come back to the Inkwell next summer. Brenda's mama hugs her and tells her she loves her before she leaves. Drew goes to say goodbye to the doctor and gives her a hug and, it lets her understand she was another person that poured into him positively, made him feel seen and loved. And, he was grateful to that. And then he goes back home and they're on the ferry. And, he's just completely different. Not nearly as young as he was when he came. You know what I'm saying? Even the way he was standing with his shoulders back, like it was a different version of himself. Um, Age of consent was probably 16 anyways. Yeah, that's why I said that. But how we feel about it. Like legal don't make it right. But yeah, because I mean, if it was a girl and a 26-year-old man with a 16-year-old girl, like we would feel differently. But I also feel like people like to negate the penetration part. Like y'all want to negate the fact that the person receiving, is still more at a disadvantage. You know what I'm saying? In a lot of these situations. Yes, I have seen Women of Brewster's Place. But yeah, y'all, the Inkwell is a beautiful coming of age story to me. So many different nuances that we still have issues with to this day. So I feel like, it's a real important one for y'all to check out if y'all have not already. I hope y'all enjoyed my review. Um, I want to watch this now. It's been so long. You should. She said he could smell it on. Yes. Yes. Because there's a smell. Everybody. Because he sniffed him. Okay. But go on and do it till you're satisfied. Whatever it is. But yeah, y'all. That was the Inkwell. Now that we're grown review. And now that we're at the end of this one, before I go, give me 1 second so I can show y'all what the next one is going to be. And I told y'all the next one is going to be pre-recorded, so it won't be a live, but it'll still be a now that we're grown, but I need to be able to get it done in a timely manner because I have things to do. And I want to at least do another live, maybe either today or tomorrow. I'm going to do a BondyBlue show for everybody to talk about a few things before I get deep into, getting ready for Thursday. But hold up, y'all. Give me a second because I'm about to show y'all the Now That We're Grown that's coming out on Thanksgiving Day for everybody. And this one was hard for me, which is another reason why I don't want to do it live because there were a lot of I don't know, it's just a lot of personal shit in this one for me. Hold up, hold up. Dun, 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 dun. When I was a little girl, I had a rag doll. The next one. This will be the next Now That We're Grown that is coming out on Thanksgiving. So I hope you guys will check it out. Okay. I hope you guys will come through for it. It'll be a premiere. So I will definitely be in the chat. It just won't be live. Okay. But yeah, y'all make sure y'all go and watch this. Refresh yourself if you haven't already, because what's love got to do with it will be the next Now That We're Grown. I'm not doing Crooklyn. I literally threw up the first time I saw that movie. No, thank you. I know y'all want me to do it, but no. All right, y'all. Love y'all. And I will talk to y'all later.